Good afternoon, people of the cardboard, and welcome back to Fun Deck. So we have finally, the new TCG exclusive thing coming out of Birth Protocol, and it is GMX. Cool. They just stopped names, only initials now. Now, I made a video talking about like what we knew about the deck and I thought the deck would be about, and I knew it'd be going Dino based. My hope was that it'd be Fusion Dino based, and that the all the monsters would be dinosaur. That was my hope. Just make a fusion deck, involves all dinosaurs. And I got half of it right. Kind of decided to screw me the most important part of that, which really bugs me. But let's get into it. I'll review the cards, kind of show them off, and then I'll talk about, broadly speaking, what the cards can do and what other dinosaur cards they kind of work with. All right, so we have four main deck monsters. The first two is GMX Researcher Saland. It's level 3 Fire Warrior. Already off to a terrible start. Attack 15, defense 7. If this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one non-warrior GMX monster or one level 3 or lower dinosaur monster from your deck. If this card is special summoned by a monster effect, you can add one GMX spell trap from your deck to your hand. If a dinosaur fusion monster is on the field, you can shuffle this card from the field into the deck, and if you do, negate the effects of one face-up card on the field until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of GMX Researcher Celine once per turn. All right, so this is the starter. It's kind of hard to talk about these cards individually, but I will point out they all typically have effect that's unique to them, as well as an effect that activates when they're summoned by a monster effect specifically. And this does come up, and it's really annoying. But anyway, all right, so this is one clearly a starter for the deck. This was teased before, and people were not happy. But here's a new one, which is Return Dino DNA. So it's not GMX, which bugs me a bit, but fine. It is a level 1 water dinosaur, attack 4, defense 12. So if this card is special summoned by a monster effect, you can add one GMX monster from your deck to your hand. During your main phase, you can fusion summon one dinosaur fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can make all dinosaur monsters you currently control gain 400 attack. You can only use each effect of this monster once per turn. All right. So that's fine. I mean, this card is brand new, and I really think does make the deck far better than most people were saying it was going to be based off of the initial cards. And I'll kind of talk about, once again, we've gone through everything, but this one was surprisingly good. And I think this does have, it's interesting because this one could have some longevity outside of the deck too, I think, but that's just my take. All right, let's get into the last main deck monsters. So we have GMX Chairman Kimridge. So this is a level 4 light psychic effect monster. So again, not a dino. It's attack 1000, defense 900. And then you can reveal this card in your hand. Add one GMX applied experiment 55 from your deck or grave it to your hand. If you do, shuffle this card into the deck. If this card is special summoned by a monster effect, you can target 2 cards in your graveyard. They are GMX cards and or dinosaurs. Place them on top of your deck in any order. Then you can destroy one attack position monster your opponent controls. You can only use each effect once per turn. All right. So this is really cool. This kind of sets up a lot of plays, but it's basically an interruption. So we'll see. Spoiler, you do have methods of summoning to your opponent's turn, and so you can shuffle back your cards, or at least put them on top of your deck and pop stuff. I'm just going to cut down to GMX 55. I'll come back to this other card, the other monster. It's at the end. All right. So it's GMX Applied Experiment 55. It is a normal spell card. I love that they just chose a random number 55. I couldn't find any significance to that. Let me know if you can think of one. All right. So this is a normal spell. You can activate the top card of your deck until you have excavated a GMX monster and a dinosaur monster. You lose 400 life points for each excavated card. So minimum, you're going to be excavating 800 or paying 800 life for this. Then you can fusion summon one GMX monster or fusion monster from your deck using any excavated monsters as materials. Also shuffle the rest into the deck. All right. So I guess theoretically from this, as you'll see, there's only each GMX fusion requires a dino and a GMX monster. And since there's no overlap with those two, like it's kind of weird, but I guess if you get like multiple dinosaurs or multiple GMX, you can choose which one you send. But all right, cool. It's a fusion spell that's probably going to burn you and could kill you if your life is low. So something you have to pay attention to. All right, let's go back to that last main deck monster. And then, so this is GMX Associate Noma. It's cool. It's a dark reptile, attack 900, defense 13. So if this card is special summoned by monster effects, again, they all have effects. You can target one card each from your graveyard and your opponent's graveyard. Place each card on either top of the deck or top or bottom of the deck. I assume this means you have to choose like top and top for both of those cards, or bottom and bottom. I don't think you can like choose, like, let's say opponents goes to the bottom, yours goes to the top. I don't think that's how that would work. But if a monster is normal or special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, while this card is in your monster zone, except during the damage step, you can fusion summon one GMX monster from your deck by shuffling monsters from your hand, graveyard, and or banishment into the deck. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. All right, so before we get into the fusions, just to recap, we have 3 methods of fusion summoning. We have the level 1 Dino that can just fusion summon as ignition effect. We have Associate Noma that can fusion summon using field, graveyard, or banished the moment your opponent summons something. And then we have the actual fusion spell that basically fusions through your deck in a super convoluted manner. Okay, it's basically like a worse branded fusion, right? You don't get to use it and you have to pay life. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the big bosses, the payoffs. So we have 2 fusion monsters, GMX Alos and GMX Velox. They're light and dark. They're basically the same attribute as their counterpart, the Psychic and the Reptile, but they're both dinosaurs, which is cool. So Alos, this is a level 8 light dino, fusion, attack 3000, defense 900. It takes 1 GMX monster and 1 dino monster, and then each time your opponent normal or special summon monsters gain 200 life points. Cool. You can recap everything you spent to pay on this monster. Okay. You can only use each of the following effects of GMX Alice once per turn. You can target 1 GMX monster or 1 dino monster in your graveyard or banish it. Special summon it. This card cannot attack the turn this effect is activated. And then at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy that monster. All right, cute. So you'd have to choose, I believe, actually. Yeah, you would have to choose, sorry. Because this card cannot attack the turn you use the effect. I don't think you can use it after, or I don't think you could attack and then attempt to use the effect. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that's how that would be worded or ruled. All right, and lastly, we have GMX Velox. It's a level 8 dark dinosaur, attack 27, defense 13. It takes a GMX and a dino, so same as the other one. And then each time your opponent normal or special summons, you gain 200 life, so just like the other one. And then during your opponent's turn quick effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, activate the top cards of your deck until you activate a GMX monster or a dinosaur monster, lose 400 life points for each card activated, add 1 GMX monster or dinosaur monster to your hand or special summon it, and shuffle the rest into the deck. Also, destroy that targeted card. And then you can only use this effect once per turn. All right, so this is basically a trident for any card your opponent controls, and you kind of have that same excavation. It feels a lot like playing Uno, where you're trying to just draw until you get the card you want, but you do have to pay life every time you do. So this is kind of a weird. They haven't used excavation for a while, so this is your main interruption. The playstyle seems pretty, I guess, linear. The goal is to make Alistair in your turn, and then theoretically, if you can go into Noma and then leave it during your opponent's turn, you can use it to fusion summon into Velox, and then Velox can be a Dread and Pop with an excavation. All right, so going into Dueling Book, here I kind of did research into dinos to go over what I think the strategy kind of warrants itself to. So first of all, GMX Researcher, Solane, I'm just going to call it Researcher. This is the only one that actually has a normal summon effect, and it's the only, I'd say, good extender during your turn. So this card can get, right, any of your GMXs theoretically, or yeah, any of your GMXs, or a level 3 or lower dino. So obviously the combo would be normal summon this, summon the new return dino, and then this one can search an additional name, theoretically your Noma, and then you can use this poly effect, fusion summon with the Noma in hand and this dino to basically make out your Alos, and the Alos would revive your Noma. That's the kind of the play. And then the Noma during your opponent's turn can fusion summon your Velox and give you the Dread and Pop. That's like kind of it of what the deck's going for. All right. But theoretically, you could use the Researcher not only to go into this, but any level 3 or lower dino, so targets you can hit. There's obviously Archosaur, really nice, good for setting up dino plays, and as the baby and Petite Pteranodon. That's pretty self-explanatory. Also, Dracmegalo is an option too. So theoretically, what you could do, and this is cute, is you go summon this and then go summon this, and you can synchro for 4. So obviously, you can make Herald of Arclate. Oh wait. Or you can go into Dino Wrestler Capitara, which is a targeted send, theoretically, if your opponent controls more monsters than you. And then you could rank up if you want. There's nothing locking you here. But that's just kind of being cute. But the last one I thought was kind of interesting is that you could use Researcher to summon out Rex Freight for Hire, which can like search for hire spell trap on summon. which is pretty cool, right? And I know For Hire has seen some hype. They're getting a lot of new cards in Burst Protocol, including Gale For Hire. Um, and so I think For Hire is probably the deck I first clung to, because For Hire like just wants different attributes. All their link monsters required having two monsters with, sorry, not attributes, different types. And what's cool about your deck, right, is that the GMX all are different types outside of the fusions. So these are theoretically nice. They also have, as you've seen, they have dinos. So there is a world where that might be the play. I don't think we live in that world, but it could exist. I think from what I've heard, just Canine for Hire is a better mix. But hey, let me know if you've tried it out or built it. I haven't done that yet. It's still a little new. But I think summoning out an Archosaur, as long as you have a Dino to pop, is a pretty tempting offer, because it gets your Dino play started. It can search out Double or Evolution Pill, which can get any of your main deck Dino boss monsters that are pretty cool. But the other option that doesn't see too much play is Beta Evolution Pill. Shout out to all my betas out there. So yes, you could search out Beta Evolution Pill, and this card actually can cheat out your GMX card. So basically, this card tributes two cards from your hand, or two monsters from your hand or field, and then you summon out a dinosaur from your extra deck, level 5 or higher, that has attack greater than the monsters tributed. And then you're locked into dragons, dinosaurs, sea serpent, and worms for the rest of the turn, for the extract specifically. And so, I mean, that's fine. You can go into these two by using beta. It's not double Illusion Pill because you have to tribute it, so it's just fine. But I think it's something worth talking about. The big one is Miscellaneous Swords. I mean, I think the cool part is that all these combos you can do with Misk. So if you get access to Misk through Fossil Dig or going Overraptor, search Misk, discard Misk, and then classically you'd be going to Archosaur. But now what you can do is summon out Return Dino. This then on summon could add you your associate Noma, and then you can just fusion someone with both of these, right, using Return Dino's effect to make your Alos, and then Alos could revive your Noma. So that like sets up for the Vax your opponent's turn, also pretty cute. So I like that. The main issue I've noticed, right, with this deck is, why aren't they dinos, right? There's so many, like you've seen, dinos have methods of summoning other dinos. Raptor revives dinosaurs, right? Which is really cool. Babysaurus, Petite Pterodon, right? These are really great ways of summoning out dinos from your deck. Not many typings have that. But then they only made one dino. It's not even a GMX card. I assume in the second wave we'll get a card that's a GMX and a dino, so it kind of hit both, which is cool. I like that. But the problem I have with this is that, like, I couldn't find a method of cheating these out from the main deck, either the chairman or the associate, using a monster effect to proc their effects, right? Like, so far, the only way I found to actually trigger the chairman is to summon it off of the Alos, get lucky and summon off the Velox, or go into some of the psychic stuff that locks you into psychic, so you can't even fusion summon. But it's like, this is your interruption. This is what you want to be going for. There's just not a lot of methods of using monsters to summon generic, right, monsters from your hand or graveyard during your opponent's turn. Reptile, I mean, what I found is there's some, I think Odoatic has a couple methods if you want to play it, but like, that's a little bit much to be asking for, legitimately. And then GMX Reacher is a Fire Warrior, so obviously Durandal is a search target for this. It's pretty okay. But, I mean, that's a spell card that adds it to hand, and like, yeah, that helps your consistency, but that means you're either going second and you're hoping your Durandal stays, or you're going first and you've already summoned something. So, like, this is all iffy. Last of the dino stuff I want to talk about, there's a couple generic stuff that's cool, because your dinos, like, Noma can shuffle back from grave and stuff, or from banish, which is pretty nifty. And then Alos can summon in dinos from banish as well. That's pretty cool. So like, banish dinos is nice. You can summon back a Misk to use a later turn. I think that's pretty cool. Kaitopera and Giant Rex both summon themselves if they are banished. So GMX does not banish themselves, but obviously if you go to the Evolution Pill, if you go into UCT, anything like that, then yeah, like, these could banish. This card is also cute because Kaitopera is involved in Horn Source. It's one of the fusion requirements, and theoretically, I believe it's Return Dino can summon out. If you happen to have this, you could use Return Dino to summon or fusion someone with Kaitopera to make Horn Source, and this just searches any field spell. Again, that's a very gimmicky thing, but theoretically could work. And then I already talked about before, but there are some generic Dino stuff. You have Dogoran, You have the Doodle Bee stuff, which can be an additional interrupt. And then you have Deuterion, which is pretty okay. And then lastly, I did look to try to find some generic methods of summoning monsters in your opponent's turn. Surprisingly, there's a lot of Link 4s that do it. So there is Horn Brute Carnosaurus. This is Synchro Dino. I think it came out in the last set as a TCG exclusive, but it can actually summon out Return Dino from your hand during the battle phase, which is pretty cute. But you're locked in the dino, so it's kind of like it's okay. But you could use this theoretically if you had the Return Dino, summon it out, then search a GMX, and use this to fusion. So that's just fine. More generically, we do have AFD, just to summon stuff from your hand that would proc any of your effects, but it isn't a quick effect. There is World Sea Dragon Z Atlantis. This does banish and then special summon everything back. So you could theoretically, if you make a Link deck, like start with a Researcher, and then a normal summon it to get like start extending, and then banish it and bring it back off of the Atlantis, and then it would proc its second effect. That's cute. But I mean, you're only adding your fusion, which is just I haven't talked about much because it's pretty bad, but okay. And then you have Saruja and Abaoku, which is a quick effect revive. So this one's the only one I saw that could actually quick effect revive either of your associate or your chairman, so they could be interrupts against your opponent. I don't know of too many generic other methods. There is Ankariba, which we haven't gone to TCG, and that revives. It's basically a monster reborn when your opponent declares an attack, which is pretty cute, but I doubt that would really move the needle on this. So yeah, I mean, I think this is fine. I think the big thing is this is a quote-unquote promising first wave support. I think just it's nice that like it gives an extra deck option for dinosaurs that hasn't had any, right? Like dinos have been classically passed with a UCT, and then maybe going to Logia Dolka, but that's it. And having a Trident that like can summon a dino and a method of getting back a banished or graveyard dino is pretty cool. I just think it's not enough. I think this is really unplayable on its own. Like a single Trident is not a good end board for modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! So overall, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 on the Fundecometer. I'm a little bummed. I think it's fine. I think given, a second wave of support, this could be either really broken or completely unplayable. I think just looking at the other TC exclusives we got in the past couple sets, this is just a step below. I think this is closer to maybe either, what's it called? Ticina. Honestly, I know that's really hard to say and it hurts me to say it, but I think the deck it needs more support, and I think a second wave could really promote that. I think there's some really cool things that like dinos have been lacking for quite a while, that this deck does bring to the table, but I think until we get like a more full-fledged support, get another spell trap that can be an interrupt, right? Give them at least one or two more methods of interacting with your opponent, like consistently summon these during your opponent's turn, without having to rely on like random other monsters. I think this deck is just kind of, it's maybe tier 3 if you squint hard enough. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think I'm wrong about this? Do you think that GMX is the new future of Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you think they're the new RBs? Personally, I don't think they are, but I love being corrected. I love hearing from you in the comments down below. And be sure to like and subscribe. I am very, very close to 100 subscribers, and that would mean the world to me if I can get there before Valentine's Day. So please be my Valentine. That is a Yu-Gi-Oh pun. All right. Without further ado, it's Fundex signing out. Bye.